Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the EKN Radio Network and another edition of the EKN Debrief, episode number 27. Today, July 11th, 2018, just a couple days away from the USAC Karting Battle of the Brickyard at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Speedway, Indiana. Today's show presented by Franklin Motorsports. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and they can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. They specialize in IME engines, Tillett seats, and of course, their championship-winning Merlin chassis. They've been supplying racers with start-to-finish support at race events for years, from providing a helping hand on a weekday test outing or a club event, to full arrive and drive packages at the highest level of karting competition. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. Again, episode number 27 of the EKN Debrief. My name is Rob Howden. As always, joined in this debrief episode by the managing editor of ekartingnews.com, David Cole. And David, I was at Iowa Speedway over the weekend for the IndyCar race and the Indy Lights race of that bad fast oval. I enjoyed myself, but I'll tell you, about 92% of me wanted to be at the Brickyard with you for the Battle of the Brickyard karting event. Man, you know what? I'm sure we'll talk about it more through this broadcast, but you can talk about it right now. This race is just fast becoming something that everybody's going to want to go attend.
Well, it's the first thing I got there. It's like a bucket list type deal. Like, I mean, in all the years of karting, there's never been karting events inside the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And now for the last 2 years, we've had that opportunity with USAC Karting and IMS working together to bring the sport of karting into the facility. So it's something that has not happened. And it's something that, from being there this past weekend, looks like it's going to be happening at least once a year moving forward.
Yeah, Dave, I'm hoping it. We obviously, IMS President Doug Bowles was there. His son was racing, so there's a good connection. Obviously, Doug's one of the guys that makes the decisions. They're putting a lot more events than just the Indianapolis 500 and the Brickyard 400 there. Of course, they had the SCCA runoffs last year. They do a vintage event every year. There's a number of races that do come in to run now in Indianapolis. Heck, they're building a dirt oval to run in August. So they're leveraging the track a little more. And if we get lucky and we get to put this thing on, let's say for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it's, as I posted just on Facebook, it's going to become one of those foundation races that, as you mentioned, would be a bucket list for anybody getting into karting. Now, the question I wanted to ask you, I don't think you've ever been to the Speedway, have you?
No, I've been there for the Formula One races when we had the Formula Car magazine.
That's true. Okay. Well, that's what I meant. That's right, for Formula Car magazine back when I think Robert Wickens was racing back then and Alexander Rossi and the boys.
Speed was still with Red Bull.
That's right. Yeah, I think Matt Jaskell was there too.
Yeah, Jaskell was there racing BMW, I believe. So BMW. Yeah, it was. That was a cool experience. Before then, I had been there as a kid only to go to the museum with my dad. We were ironically taking a trip down to Comet Kart Sales at the time, and decided to go stop. It was during the winter months, and stop at the Speedway to go through the museum. I think I had to have been probably 8, 9, or 10, before I even started racing. So it was kind of a unique deal to actually be there though and be part of a racing event.
I've worked the last 3 Indianapolis 500s with IndyCar Radio, David. And the reason why I'd asked that was for me, and I can imagine any of the karters that were there who had never been there before. Even if I'm driving down, getting close, coming down Crawfordsville Road, coming close to 16th and Georgetown, I still get my arms. I get the bumps on my arms. I get nervous. It's just so cool to see the racetrack when I get there. That track just still, every time I go there, when you go through the tunnel and come out into the track, it just blows me away. And I think for the karting community to be able to have that now part of our DNA, what we do, I'm thrilled about it. I'm glad that you were able to go down. I know you were wrenching for your dad, Bob, on the weekend, and your dad's the kind of guy that likes to do the bucket list races. He's checked off Daytona many times, of course, Rock Island. I'm pleased that he was able to get down there to the Brickyard as well. And I'm going to cross my fingers. There's all this talk that the Iowa Speedway IndyCar race may move to a different date. man, if they could leave that date open, I want to race there so bad. But let's jump into your deal. Let's talk more about it, David. You were there. You're going to be the voice primarily on this podcast. I'm just going to ask questions and comment because, man, you were trackside. I want to hear what your thoughts on the second annual Battle of the Brickyard.
Yeah, I was there. It wasn't an official EKN capacity, but of course, anytime you go to the racetrack, you're still representing the website and the business, and so it was kind of a challenging weekend because I wanted to do more for our our social media network and make sure I was aware of what was going on for the race report that we just posted today. But wrenching and working are very two hard things to do at the same time. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was like you said, my dad was like a giddy little schoolgirl driving down Crawfordsville Thursday as we were heading there with the trailer. So,
dude, I could just imagine. I could see him in the truck just going crazy. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, it was. So yeah, but again, just like you said, pulling in there with in your own hauler with a racing stuff in the back. It was a pretty surreal moment. I think our favorite part was being pitted right next to the golf course, the Brickyard Crossings. I mean, as a golfer, we almost were kind of upset we didn't bring our clubs and sneak onto the golf course and go hit a few.
Play a couple holes. That's right. I hear you.
But overall, I mean, the event, being the second time karting has been there with USAC and IMS working together. It's now paired up with the USAC quarter midget event that is set up behind the pagoda. They had another record-breaking event that, went from Thursday all the way through Sunday night. We know Aaron Likens, Supercarts USA head starter. He's there as the head starter there and just worked tirelessly through the over 500 entries and hundreds of races that they have around that little rinky-dink oval.
Yeah, right.
That unfortunately we were too busy to actually and too tired to go over and check it out. But hopefully next year we'll be able to have some time to go see what that's all about. Hey
David, how about having the two best flagmen in karting at the same track at the same time?
Oh, for sure, yeah. With Jason Burgess doing our event and Aaron over there, they definitely have two unique styles. I will say that. Aaron's more business oriented, not so much. Amped up on the fun meter, although, he is a funny guy, but Jason just loves the antics and the pageantry that comes with being a flagman. So definitely two styles, but yeah, it's really cool to see them both at the same event, both at IMS, which is amazing.
So talk about the paddock. I know the place, there was a lot of entries, a massive increase in entries, which is great. You see some of these numbers, 49 in a class, 51 in a class. We all know, David, that numbers breed numbers, and next year is probably going to be even more. But what about the paddock? I know that, and we did the podcast we did with Mike Burrell from USAC Karting. He talked about some of the stuff he was going to change this year after learning last year. I'm sure he learned even more this year. But I know you told me when you were texting back and forth in the weekend that the paddock was just packed.
It was really packed. They had kind of everybody squeezed in there. The biggest issue, as you mentioned, is they're building a dirt oval inside turn 3. That just happens to be where our paddock was for the event. So it took up a lot of real estate that people could have used. And, so it's one thing that, if this is going to happen year in, year out, hopefully they'll be able to work with them to say, hey, why don't you guys start construction after the 4th of July? That'd be really great. Right. Just to kind of help alleviate the congestion that it was, because as you said, we're going to talk in the numbers. The numbers increased from, I can't find my total number.
I think you said it was 135 last year or something like that, and 439 this year or something?
Yeah, 135 more entries, but it doesn't necessarily mean as many racers. I mean, that many racers, but I mean, there were a lot more racers. So you add in all of the haulers and all the vehicles that are in there, because it was kind of like, you could park your vehicle next to your trailer, and so that kind of congested things up a little bit. So obviously, now that this is their second time there, they might have, some shuttle services to be able to park the cars in different areas and stuff like that to make it more accessible for everybody, because it was hard. If you were crammed in the middle, it was impossible to get out there early.
Yeah, time to learn something from the Super Nationals, right, Dave? Come in, park your trailer, and take your truck somewhere else,
right?
Because your truck's not going to be in the paddock. That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's good because they allow bikes, they allow golf carts to a certain extent, as long as you're not being disruptive with them. So it gives you the ability to drive from cars. I mean, we had to use bikes to get from our pit area to the grid because it was well over 1,000 feet. So.
Hey, so some of the notes you gave me, 239 total entries, an increase of 135 entries from last year, so essentially a 44%.
400.
Yeah, 439. Yeah. Sorry, 439. An increase of 135 for a 44% increase. Last year, about 50% Briggs. This year, 59% Briggs, with a 258 entry count in the Briggs categories. You gave me the list. Briggs 206 medium up 31 from 26 drivers to 57. 23 drivers more in Briggs heavy, 37 to 50. 36 in the brand new Margay Ignite Masters class. Margay Ignite is just, you and I could talk a full show just about the Ignite category and what it's done to provide stability with the spec program. And then, of course, flow over into the other categories, David. But, man, just looking at the numbers here, almost everything up.
Yeah, everything was pretty much up. The only downside, which was shocking, was the Honda 80s shifter category, which was only had 12 down from 19 last year. It just seems, it was a growing class in the SIRA program. They just seem to be lacking numbers this year, talking with a couple of people. So, maybe it's kind of just on a roller coaster ride where it's going up and down, up and down. So that's something that we'll have to watch. And, they had their own time slot. So again, they might be moved into a grouping. Yep. Because we had a couple of the classes such as IME Junior and IME Senior running together. We had, I believe it was Yamaha Heavy and the Yamaha Junior categories running together to help save time. Jim Fry did an amazing job with the schedule. It was on time all weekend long. Obviously there's a couple red flags that delayed things, but they got right back on schedule. So again, it's, they don't have, other than adding that Ignite Masters category, they really don't have to add anything else moving forward. They have the number of categories for people to come and race. So, it's definitely something that's going to keep growing and will be a bucket list event for a lot of people down the road.
David, I think one of the themes that we took in interviewing Mike Burrell in the podcast, The Industry Insider, or rather the Operation Grassroots podcast we did with him before the event, was the fact that he wants this to be the biggest club race in the country. So when you look at the class structure, this is exactly what we want for clubs, right? It's the different Briggs categories. It's the Ignite, it's Yamaha, it's the IAME categories, it's throwing in the Honda shifter guys and 80 and 125 and KZ, whatever you got. This is essentially the class structure that plays exactly to what the foundation, the bottom of the pyramid is.
It is. Briggs is obviously with nearly 60% of the entries. That's it. I mean, that's where clubs really need to gather and get people on board with the sport, is right there in the Briggs, just because of the affordability, the easiness of it, and the fun factor. I mean, it has all three factors to make it fun and exciting. And so, yeah, again, it believe me, the atmosphere too was kind of like a big club event. It really was, because it kind of had that Rock Island feel where, there's guys that are, there with the back of the pickup truck with the cart. They're taking the cart back to the hotel with them every night or back home to wherever they live in the Indianapolis area. But you also had some of the bigger teams there, like Top Kart and obviously Margay and Trinity and DRT Racing and some of the other bigger Kart Sport North America, some of the bigger teams there. So it was a really unique, again, you have a unique spectrum of people and carters that are there at the event.
I love it. That's perfect. Well, folks, we're at the 1/4 mark of episode number 27 of the EKN Debrief. Rob Howden, get a chance to talk here to David Cole, my managing editor at ekartingnews.com, as we go over the USAC karting battle at the Brickyard this past weekend. at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. On the other side of this break, David and I will come back with the Paddock Pass. Again, this is episode 27, brought to you by Franklin Motorsports.
For over a century, Briggs & Stratton has had a commitment and passion for racing. It's a DNA found in every engine we build today. So whether you kart race, Baja, race quarter midgets, or believe that dirt and snow are just God's way of adding to the challenge, the dedicated spirit of every Briggs & Stratton employee stands at the fence waiting for the green flag to drop. Briggs & Stratton Racing. What powers you?
Since 2003, K1 Race Gear has been a one-stop shop for all your indoor and outdoor karting needs. From racing shoes, suits, and driving gloves to chest protectors, rib vests, accessories, and bags, K1 Race Gear provides quality karting products for the enthusiast and the professional alike. We have an incredible lineup of K1 karting suits designed to fit everyone's budget. Check out our entry-level GK2, the new Apex 2, and our top-of-the-line Speed 1 suit. Then, choose from our Apex and RS1 karting gloves and add in our K1 shoes, rib protectors, and neck collars. If you need a custom suit to support your sponsors, we can create a custom look as unique as you are. As you would expect, our custom suits are made to order. With pricing as low as $495, you're sure to find a suit that not only satisfies your racing needs, but is easy on the wallet as well. We take care of all of our customers at K1 Race Gear, not just the ones with deep pockets. Visit K1RaceGear.com today and get everything you need for your next racing season. Welcome back to another EKN Debrief here on the EKN Radio Network. David Cole giving us the full update on the USAC karting Battle of the Brickyard at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Of course, David down there kind of doing double duty. He was doing some EKN stuff just because he was there, but primarily he was wrenching on his dad, Bob Cole's, I believe, Masters entry, Tag Masters entry. David, let's jump in now to the Paddock Pass section. This, of course, brought to you this weekend by CRG Nordam. If you want to drive the best, drive a CRG. After years of independent American importers, CRG Nordam is now managed directly by the factory and run out of their state-of-the-art headquarters in Texas. CRG Nordam is the American arm of the CRG factory in Italy, and they're serious about success. If you're ready to step up to the national level, do it with a factory race team that competes across the USA. CRG Nordam is a full factory effort with the best personnel and the finest equipment. We're serious about winning, and you should be too. David, into the Paddock Pass, and obviously, probably even more than any normal race weekend, you were in the paddock. You were, it's a lot of times you're out with your camera, we're doing the broadcast, and we're only in the paddock after, when the day's over having a cocktail. Dude, you were in the paddock all weekend. So give us a scoop. What happened?
Yeah, it was a unique weekend for me. As much as I wanted to be out taking photos, I had my very limited time doing so because of my duties and the issues we had all weekend long preventing me. And actually, I wish I could have had more time to roam the paddock, actually. But it was just, racing and wrenching. It's a lot of work.
You guys blew up some equipment though too. You actually had to go to work that weekend.
Yeah, well, I had to leave the racetrack for almost 4 hours to go get a crank repaired over at Comet Racing Engines. Luckily, that was only a half hour away. So, yeah, it was. But like I said, it was a great mix. Big teams, regional teams, and a lot of privateers. A lot of guys, out of the back of the 10x10 trailer or the back of the pickup truck. So it was really cool to see all the unique and wide spectrum of racers that were there.
I love that.
One person that was there just, who's kind of been focused in on the national level, kind of just was like taken back and didn't realize how many privateers there really are still in the sport, and when you have an event like this at Indy or say Daytona or another facility that is a bucket list type facility, you're going to get these people to come out of their garages with a cart and come race. Like that's one of the unique aspects of this event. It's not just another club race. This is at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and people are going to want to be there.
So give us some more. What's highlights, lowlights, positive, negatives? What did you see in the paddock and throughout the weekend?
Well, like I said earlier, it stayed on time with the schedule. They had it mapped out pretty well, gave plenty of racing time and practice time over the 3 days with as many classes as they had. Obviously, when you have a temporary type circuit like this, where you have the barriers, you're going to have a couple red flags here and there, either with track blockage or a flip here or there. So as far as I know, no serious injuries that occurred. Just your typical banged up carts or banged up arms or bodies. Couple of the minor issues that happened on the weekend. Major issue with the scales, trying to get them consistent. But again, it kind of was at the fault of the racers who were abusing it, slamming their carts over it, driving on top of it. Certain things that people don't respect when they go to a race like this. So, they eventually got it figured out by Sunday morning. The other thing was the live timing went down during the main event. So we left early. I'm sitting there trying to watch the racing. I really couldn't because the live timing wasn't working. They had some internet issues there that were not IMS related, but with the scoring personnel and the USAC people. So I think they understand what they need to do there to remedy that for next year. But one of the other little annoying things was that they allowed duplicate numbers, which, as we know, working with Race Monitor really screws it up. And so I'm hoping they remove that next year. It's just, there's, overall the event was a B plus and A minus, but there's always these little things that you can fix to just make it better. And while it's not much that you have to do, it's just these little things that people can go, oh, okay, nothing, they don't have anything to bitch about then.
You give them something to focus on, right?
Exactly. I mean, there's always something people are going to bitch about. And so if you take away these little minor issues, then they have nothing to bitch about, and it's all positive. But, overall from my vantage point, it was a safe track to drive. Being a racer at Rock Island and some other temporary circuits, it was very safe.
Yep.
It's a good mixture of road racing, obviously, with the Formula One and Indy GP circuit area that we use. It was pretty wide and a lot of runoff room area. And then you go to the back part of the track where it drives around near the pagoda and up to the front straightaway there. It's like a street race. You got barriers. You got to find your limits and, again, not go 100%. Maybe go that 95. So you're staying off the barriers. It's part of racing. So it was pretty cool.
Now, I saw some guys bitching on social media about clutches and about the track. Maybe people were saying they needed a couple new clutches throughout the weekend. That seemed a little odd to me. Did you hear anything about that in the paddock yourself?
Well, the uniqueness of the track being there's a very tight 180-degree hairpin. And as you know, anytime you have a corner like that, I think one track we saw that was really bad was the Windsor Grand Prix. Do you remember that? The Stars of Karting race there. They had the shifter guys were bringing in the clutch just so they could exit out of the corner. It wasn't.
Yeah, Barry was like that as well. There was a corner where they had to clutch it in first gear to get out of the corner. Agreed.
It wasn't quite that bad, but again, when you have a track that's very fast, so you're gearing, to stay off the rev limiter for the Briggs, it's kind of a big gap. You want to get the clutch to get out of the hairpin, but then you're running these ratios that are stretching the engine to get as close to the rev limiter as possible. So again, it's just it's kind of racing deal. So guys just weren't used to it. I think that's what it boils down to is a lot of times with the Briggs racers, you just slap it on and you go and you go until it breaks. And
well, if indeed you're saying that, again, the track's more of a wide open racetrack and you try to throw in a really tight hairpin, that's probably not needed. I understand the tight hairpin's probably to slow down some of the 2-cycle classes, but for a 4-cycle deal, obviously it's the pull out of that corner with a ratio that tall, you're going to be, you're obviously having some issues for sure. What about one of the things we always talk about, and I looked at a lot of the photos Give me your thoughts on the fact that they went with CIK only bodywork for the Briggs categories. That's obviously been a big talking point in four cycle racing for the last couple of years.
Well, it's a big topic on the eastern half of the country. Everywhere else, they run CIK bodywork. It's getting away from that Gold Cup bodywork mentality, which I still don't mind the Gold Cup bodywork, but it's trying to put two different styles and essentially classes together. And so, if you want to race there, you had to put CIK bodywork on. And so, people bit their lip, even though they could have been bitching over the last 5 years about how they'll never run CIK bodywork. They'll put it on to race at Indy. So, you didn't hear a lot of too much complaining about it throughout the weekend. I'm sure we'll see it more on social media because that's where it seems to happen. But, it was
easy when you're a keyboard jockey, baby.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, nobody came to me all weekend long to bitch about anything, but I guarantee our emails will be full later after this podcast. But the biggest thing was the fairings, all the different, the Perrin and now the OTK that's come on over from the European market into the U.S. market. So it was kind of, guys were, especially some of the Briggs racers who aren't used to the CIK style bodywork, haven't seen these types of fairings before. So, people talking about that. And again, it really didn't make any differences. I don't think. I think the fast drivers are still going to be the fast drivers as we saw in the final results.
Yeah. Now, David, I followed a lot of it through social media. I clicked on live timing when I could on Saturday just to see who was quick when I could within my duties for the Mazda Road to Indy. But some of the pictures I saw, the thing about Indy and the milk and, sipping the milk and the wreath and the winner's wreath, seeing those pics, man, when I saw the guys do it at the SCCA runoffs when they were drinking the milk, my mind was, hey, you know what? No, the milk's just for the Indy 500 winner. And I went, you know what? It's a cool thing. There's the Indy 500 milk and there's kissing the bricks when you're the Indy 500 winner. And then there's being there and kind of, being part of the tradition. And to see them get that little, the milk glass, the glass of milk, and then the wreath around at the guys that have won after they came across the scales, that's pretty damn cool.
Well, I think you're right. It's more of a Indy type deal. It's not so much the Indy 500 anymore, even though, when you have your IRL, or not IRL, but Indy Lights race. Sorry. The Indy Lights race, you don't have that same type deal, and the Indy GP is different from Indy, of course, but for karting, this is the Indy 500, to race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So USAC brought this on, and again, it gives it's something different, something unique. The only thing we have like this is, say, the King of the Streets at Rock Island. There isn't necessarily, there's the Duffy for IKF Racing. There's the Eagle for WKA. There's now the Brick for USAC at Indy. But also you got in the wreath, the bottle of milk, the different photos they did throughout the weekend for the top qualifier, and then for the front row starters for the main events. It's something they tried this year. And it's something that maybe, they'll be able to get to be even better looking than what they were. So, but.
Oh, I love the idea. I love the front row starters, that kind of stuff. I think those pictures are going to be badass. I think when they figure out where to do it, because obviously you and I talked, the lighting was in the kind of wrong and it was behind them and from the side. Excuse me. I think that they'll be able to continue to work on stuff. And again, just you try something new, you figure it out, you dial it in. Man, there was so many good things that they did, new things that Mike Burrell and USAC were able to put together. And David, let's cap off this Paddock Pass section again, brought to you by CRG Nordam, with the ceremonial lap around the racetrack. That's something that I know that the guys in the USAC quarter midgets have done for the last number of years. But for the Carters to be able to get out there and do a full lap around that 2.5 mile Indianapolis Motor Speedway, what a moment for everybody that was able to get out there.
I wouldn't know. We didn't get to do it. So
I know you were getting the motor fixed. Dude, I'm sorry.
I was on my way back from Comet, so it was a little bit. So that's kind of a little bite in the ass there. But
it shows your commitment.
It does. It shows I was committed. Yes, I was committed to making things right and
making sure your dad was going to be able to race.
Right.
Dude, that's a hallmark moment right there.
But But to get back to the ceremonial lap, it was cool to see the different photos and videos, and because
everybody out there with their phones, right?
They either had their phones or a GoPro, and thankfully we had Brandon Jarzakrak. I was talking to him about it before on Friday before it happened about getting a GoPro on so we could do a different. I could have had. I was going to work on having some other videos come in, but luckily he was the only one that was able to do it, and he did it right. He didn't have it attached to the cart where he had it in his hand, and he could spin it around and kind of just show you like that feeling of going around the entire 2.5 mile course, or oval. So it was, and he got the shot I wanted, which was one shot that Stephen Flatt did at Daytona when he won at Daytona a couple of years ago. Was the GoPro shooting back at him as he crossed the start finish line with the checkered flag to the one side, and you could see the Daytona on the wall on the other side. Yeah. Well, as he was coming down the front stretch, he got it to spin around to look back at him. You have the pagoda in the background, and then you have the grandstands on the other side. So that was a very cool video and cool photo we were able to get from that, and just all the other different ones. Guys with again with phones doing Snapchat, doing Instagram Live, doing Facebook Live. It was, the Trinity, they had all their drivers kind of like you see with the Le Mans where, they're all driving across the brickyards together. So it was really cool.
Awesome. Well, folks, we're at the Crossed Halfway Flags here for episode number 27 of the EKN Debrief. On the other side of this break, David's going to give us the race report. We'll go through the class by class. So stick with us. More to come here on the EKN Radio Network. In a sport where the difference between winning and losing is measured in hundredths of a second, you can't afford to leave anything on the table. You invest in the best equipment, the latest components, and top-of-the-line data acquisition systems. Anything to find one more tenth, right? I'll tell you right now, the best investment you could ever make is in yourself. If you want to improve your results, it's time for professional instruction and coaching at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Located at the new state-of-the-art Speed Sports Racing Park just north of Houston, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy uses the very best equipment, Burrell Art Carts. They offer half-day, 1-day, 2-day, and 3-day clinics. They have a one-on-one student-to-instructor ratio, and they will design a customized curriculum for each student. Alan Rudolph is one of the most respected people in the sport, and he has nearly 20 years' experience training drivers, including Chase Elliott, Neil Alberico, Austin Versteeg, and Sabre Cook, and rising stars like Pietro Fittipaldi. Train with a champion with over 30 years of racing experience to get proven results. Start off your season with a driver tune-up. Tune up your season with some driver coaching. Or get ready for the big races by training with the best. Reserve your dates now by calling 866-607-RACE. That's 866-607-7223. For more information, visit speedsportsracingpark.com/racing-academy. From coast to coast, Miami has become the two-cycle engine of choice for American karting. Starting with the air-cooled 60cc Swift engine and moving through to the incredible X30 power plant, Miami is providing much-needed stability for the sport. The Swift and X30 engines are the backbone of the SuperKart USA Pro Tour and Pro Kart Challenge Series, as well as the USPKS, the Route 66 Sprint Series, and the WKA Manufacturers Cup. We're thrilled to introduce the new Miami KA100 Rejet engine with a special introductory price of just $16.95 until the end of February. The new engine is getting rave reviews and will be part of the USPKS, Route 66, and WKA Man Cup programs in 2018. Watch for more regions of the country to get on board with this new formula. We have 2 distribution centers in the U.S. to serve you well. Miami East in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Miami West in Temecula, California. The momentum is continuing to build, so it's time to make an investment in stabilizing your engine program. For more information on Miami, head to the website for your region, MiamiUSAEast.com or MiamiUSAWest.com. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are, EKN Debrief number 27. Man, we're knocking the podcast out here to start the 2018, the second half of the 2018 season. David, let's jump into the race report. Let me set up our presenting sponsor for the race report here of this particular episode of the Debrief. Trinity Karting Group presenting the race report. Trinity Karting Group is your first step on the ladder to racing success. Based at the Motorsport Country Club of Cincinnati, they literally have a track in their backyard and a controlled environment to start your racing dreams. Trinity Karting Group flattens out the steep learning curve as their professional staff and driver training will put you on the right path. The focus is driver development, and they compete at the local, regional, and national levels. Give them a call to get started now. They have new and used packages available, and they are your Midwest source for Tony karts and OTK parts, as well as IAME engines. Visit them at teamtkg.com or call 513-421-4463. Again, the race report brought to you by Trinity Karting Group. David, get us rolling here with the boys in the Briggs medium and what, heavy classes?
Well, I was going to get started with the two big winners on the weekend, Gary Lawson and Jeff Dolian. We know Gary working at Comet Kart Sales now and Comet Racing Engines, a 25-time winner at Rock Island Grand Prix. So he is the emperor of Rock Island Grand Prix. Wow. Decided to put
what a resume for this guy now. Adding the
interrupt, and you just ruined my moment. You just ruined it.
Dude, I'm sorry. I'm excited about it. The guy's a stud.
He is.
Start again. I don't want to ruin your moment.
So two drivers were the stars of the weekend. One of them being Gary Lawson. Gary decided to put the helmet back on, come out of his semi-retirement, as he calls it, and decided to sweep both Briggs 206 medium and heavy divisions. Lawson bested Brandon Jarzakrak in both finals. Those two were the top drivers on Sunday after going through the heat races and pre-finals on Saturday. And Jarzakrak came up short both days as Lawson was able to get to the checkered flag first both days. Garrett Powell won the last lap battle for the third spot on the podium in medium, while Zach Linzel aboard his MGM finished third in the heavy category. If you go over to Jeff Dolian, as we know from Rock Island from years past, a longtime Margay driver, now living in Texas, races at the North Texas Kartways, which we were just at recently. Jeff is a longtime Ignite driver too, raced him at Rock Island, and he was able to win both senior and masters on the weekend. So
that's bragging rights right there, I'll tell you.
It is.
Kicking the kids' asses too.
It is. Racing against him, he's probably one of the more focused racers that I have seen. Very intense, kind of never takes a lap off. Very focused. But he was able to hold off Keith Scharf for the win in Ignite Masters, with Pistol Pete Vetter knifing his way up to third. Another Margay veteran there. So it was shocking because the Masters drivers, along with Dolian, were among the faster guys in the senior category too, as well, which was kind of shocking because you don't typically see that. But again, the cream of the crop rises to the top.
Hey, it's also a road course, essentially a road course race. A little easier on the old guys.
It is. It is. You speaking old, let's talk Scott Barnes. I mean, he's almost that Masters type category age now too, but
almost over the hill for Bardsey. You're right. He's almost done.
He is, but the Bermuda driver actually came from 21st, qualified 21st, worked his way up through the heat in the pre-final, and then some shuffling allowed him to get into the lead pack there during the final, and led for quite some time until Dolian was able to pull off a last lap pass for the victory over Barnes in the main event. Ryan Bettenhausen, a name familiar with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, he qualified last and worked his way up through the big field and was able to finish third in the final. So four great performances in those categories.
David, one of the great things about Skitchy Barnes is the fact that this is a guy that lives in Bermuda. He runs a fishing charter, Hakuna Matata. Just a great dude. Essentially, he and his family such a big part of, they essentially run the Bermuda Karting Club. I'm going to be going out there for another race, I believe, this fall. But here's a guy that, David, right? Just if there's a race, he wants to go race it. If it's Rock Island, wherever it is, he'll come over and he'll run like 4 classes. And I know that I think he was wrenching on his own kart this weekend, but just a guy that loves to come over here and do those bucket list races. That's what he's all about. Scott's a good friend of mine, and man, I got a lot of respect for the way he likes to race.
Yeah, he arrived. I was texting him Thursday. He arrived in St. Louis from Bermuda, grabbed all his stuff from Crockett Motorsports, put it in the back of a truck, and hauled off to Indy that night. So, it was a pretty cool deal.
So, second year of this race, David, a number of drivers, handful of drivers, able to defend victories from 2017.
Yeah, 5 to be exact. The first of one of them was Brandon Jarzakrak. Was a bridesmaid in those 2 Briggs races that he had, but was able to score the victory in Miami Senior, where he defended his crown. Fought all weekend long with his teammate, Kart Sport North America teammate Jacob Donald. The 2 Kart Republic drivers were the class of the field. Donald was able to get one of the heat wins away from him, but Jarzakrak was pretty dominant throughout the weekend and came away with the brick and defending his victory, with Donald coming in second. And then Trinity Karting Group's Finnegan Bailiff won the battle for third, which was pretty heated throughout the weekend. It was the 2 guys away for the lead, and then all weekend long it was a fight for third, and nice. Bailiff was able to prevail on Sunday.
Good for him.
Another repeat winner was Alex Conlon, a longtime road racer, Rock Island street racer as well. Won in the KZ division for a second straight year, leading all weekend long against Miles Miller and Tommy Plitko, if I get that name right.
Plitko?
Plitko.
Oh, that's a good one.
Anna Praga, actually.
I'm sure Randy Cooner
say that 3 times fast.
Working his tail off on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So another.
All right. What about Yamaha Medium?
Another name we're pretty familiar with, Dakota Pesic, a longtime Yamaha racer and champion, defended his victory in the Yamaha Medium category. The top 3 drivers actually finished within 77 thousandths of a second, with Pesic crossing the line first, of course. Jack Dorsey and Evan Stammer crossed the line at the exact same time, had down to the thousandths of a second. So. Wow. It was a very close finish, but the runner-up spot went to Dorsey in that one.
Nice.
Ron Peterson was the Yamaha Masters winner, defending his victory for a second straight year. John O'Keefe and Gary Monette put on the heat throughout the main event, but just weren't able to work past the defending winner. So Peterson with a second brick to his mantle. And then the fifth repeat winner on the weekend was Caden Wharf, winning again in the Yamaha Junior category. It was a very close photo finish because from the I was actually there for the finish, couldn't really tell who it was from the pit lane. Both drivers came across, pumping fist pumping and cheering themselves on, but it was actually Wharf over Mason Piper by 16 thousandths of a second, with Timothy Steele in a close third place.
Solid. I like that. I like good battles like that to the very end. That's awesome.
Yeah, and Wharf actually could have been a 2-time winner on the weekend, but he was racing double duty in the IME Junior category and was quick all weekend long. Was a driver to beat, but a flat tire in the main event actually cost him that ability to grab a second victory on the weekend. So that allowed Trinity Karting Group's Gavin Bailiff to score the victory in what was another photo finish over Bryson Morris and Annie Rule, completing the podium in her junior debut.
Nice weekend for the Trinity Karting Group, guys. Couple of podium finishes. Folks, we got one more commercial break here before David comes back with our final segment of the Race Report. Stick with us. More to come here on the EKN Radio Network.
Join us at the Thor Industries Elkhart Riverwalk Grand Prix August 11th and 12th for music, family fun, and great kart racing. Entry fee is only $195, which includes a set of Hoosier tires. Follow USAC Karting on Facebook and Twitter. Visit usackarting.com and register to be part of the greatest spectacle in karting.
If your dream is IndyCar, set your sights on the Mazda Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. The first step of the ladder system is the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship powered by Mazda, which prepares young drivers for the calculated jump to the Pro Mazda Championship presented by Cooper Tires, where increased power, grip, and aero downforce fast-track your training. The The final rung is the Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires program. The last 4 Indy Lights champions will be racing in the Verizon IndyCar Series this year, so it's a proven formula. At all 3 levels, you will race at premier venues on the same weekends as IndyCar. Showcase your skills under the watchful eyes of IndyCar scouts and owners. Former karters fill the roster of Mazda Road to Indy graduates like Spencer Pigot, Gabby Chavez, Zach Veach, Ed Jones, and 2017 Indy Lights champion Kyle Kaiser. Recent karting graduates like Oliver Askew are in the middle of their journeys as well. Follow in their footsteps. Fulfill your dream. If you want to race IndyCar, there is only one choice. The Mazda Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. Welcome back to episode 27 of the EKN Debrief. David Cole giving us his account of the USAC karting battle at the Brickyard. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, karting there for the second year in Speedway, Indiana, at the corner of 16th and Georgetown. David, let's get back at. Let's jump into some gearbox guys. What happened in Honda 125 Senior?
It was an impressive victory with Devin Smith Harden, the TB Kart Indy driver, was able to beat out S1 rookie Colin Daly from Jamaica, with former Indy Lights driver Jimmy Simpson placing third. Daly took the lead for a little bit at the beginning. Him and Josh Lane kind of swapped positions, and Simpson came charging through, taking over the lead from them. But it ended up being Smith Harden charging his way up and keeping Simpson back, and Daly as well, to claim his second brick victory, who he actually was the 80cc shifter winner last year. So he's got 2 bricks in a row now. Nice. It was a great drive by Joe Ruck, though. Had a carburetor fall off in the pre-final, so came from dead last and drove his way all the way up to 5th. Just ran out of time to run down Josh Lane in 4th spot.
Solid. What about 125cc Masters?
You know, it's a lot of familiar names that we're used to seeing and saw in the past. And AJ Nowd is one of those names from the past that, it's odd to see him racing in the 125cc Masters division, but he's there, an Indiana native who actually used to live out in Colorado for a little bit. But now back in Indiana, was able to score the victory in the Masters class. Mark Nagy, a road racer that we know, led early on until he retired early, and that gave Nowd the lead and the way to the victory for the Brick Trophy. Lance Lane came from dead last after a pre-final or DNF in the pre-final to climb up to second, working past defending race winner Stephen Flatt, who was actually the top Honda driver, as the category was a mixture of KZ versus Honda.
Nice. TB Kart Indy, obviously one of the teams that really supports the 80cc program and the SIRA. They had a pretty solid weekend at Indy, did they not? Well,
they did. They're getting a victory with Devin in the 125 category, but they swept the podium in the 80 shifter category. Zach Schiff, the former first kart driver, for those keeping track.
He junior back in the start.
That's right.
Days. That was a long time ago.
He was able to score the victory over Devin Smith, with Aiden Fisher placing third.
Nice. Where the hell's Scott Falcone been for the last couple of years? That guy comes out and decides to win a bunch of races. What's this all about?
Yeah. He's got that itch again to come race some races. He's racing at the USBKS this year. I think he's obviously gonna be at the Super Nats, he said, this year. So probably a couple other events he'll probably be at. But man, he just dominated the Tag Master division. Ironically, he got into the sport through AJ Nowd during AJ's time in Colorado. So it was good to see those two reconnected again, and both took home a brick on the weekend. Chris Rock came from a DNF in the pre-final, knifed his way up through the field to finish second. Probably had something for Falcone in the main event, but again, starting last, he just wasn't able to get through the field in time. And Michael Burton ended up third.
One of the great things I love about this event, again, I got my eye on it, David, is both Margay Ignite Masters and Briggs 206 Masters. If I get a chance to race, I'm doing 206 Masters. So Give us a scoop on the 206 Masters category. Pretty solid lineup of drivers, I think, in that class. 47 in total? That's a big field.
Yeah, it was a big field. It was really cool to see. Yeah, you had some Ignite racers in there. You had just regular 206 racers in there. And believe me, it was a good mixture of newbies, club racers, and some very stout drivers in the field. Guys that were used to racing at Rock Island and other places that we've seen. But Steve Knight, a Newcastle driver, racing aboard one of the Eagle carts, was able to hold off John O'Keefe for the victory. Philip Craver was third, but removed after tech inspection, so that promoted Jamie Bradford up to third. But as you said, so many drivers in that field. It's a pretty cool deal.
Wow, I love it, man. 47 drivers in Briggs 206 Masters. Sounds, the numbers here remind me of the Canadian Nationals up here in Canada, where they're getting, 40 plus in junior, senior, and Masters. I love the fact that people, and this is the club thing. This is the biggest club race in the country. This is what Mike Burrell was trying to do. And then you go to Briggs 206 Junior, David. Only 9 drivers last year. They more than double this year. 20 drivers in the field. It's going to be 30 next year.
Oh, without a doubt. That's, as we've seen with the Briggs weekly racing series, that continues to grow. You're getting a lot of cadet drivers who are starting in the Briggs category and moving their way up into what we call the junior category. I mean, they still call it Junior 1, Junior 2, but cadet to the actual junior category, it continues to grow throughout the country. So that, for Briggs and for grassroots racing, it's a really good deal. And this weekend in Indy, it was Elijah Skaggs who was able to take the victory, ahead of top qualifier and pre-final winner Kevin Lene. Alexander Surley completed the podium in what was a very close race all weekend long.
I had a chance to watch Alexander Searle run for MGM down at the SCUSA Winter Series. Great young man. Guy came out of a K1 speed karting, getting into the outdoor stuff, and good to see him get another podium finish. Solid one for him. David, let's cap off this race report again, brought to you by Trinity Karting Group. One more category still to detail, Yamaha Heavy.
Yeah, it was the only race, or at least main event, that we saw, a bit of on-track action. The officials having to oh man, I can't even talk right now. The officials actually having to decide who won the race.
You've been carrying this whole podcast, so you're doing well.
Yeah, I know. I'm not used to it.
No, you're not. It's all
right. Tony Peterson was actually crossed the line as the provisional winner. Contact between he and Dakota actually resulted in Pesic going off and slamming into a wall and causing a DNF, but officials decided it was a what's the word I'm looking for?
Avoidable contact.
Avoidable. See, yeah, I hate that word. Avoidable contact. Hey,
I'm here for you.
Yeah, avoidable contact. So they placed Peterson behind Pesic in the final order. So that promoted Blake Horth to the top of the steps for a brick of his own, with Evan Stammer and Eli Fox completing the podium.
Take a deep breath, David. You got through the race report. Well done.
I got through it. It's easier to write it than to talk it.
I'll do the heavy lifting for the next 3 or 4 minutes. Let's jump in. There's your race report, David, giving you obviously a lot of information, a lot of categories at the Battle at the Brickyard. That caps it off, essentially, our race report. We're going to talk and jump into the EKN Trackside Live race calendar in a couple seconds. But man, overall, just a really good weekend, and I think that everybody can see that event, and when we wrap up, we'll talk really briefly about it. But this is a race that had massive entry increases in every category. Everything that they did, they're going to improve on. All the feedback I've got, guys that have emailed me and messaged me when I'm asking about it. Thank you so much again for sending me tweets or messaging me on Facebook, whatever it may be. But man, just the feedback on this event, so big. And again, I know that a lot of people will be looking to head to Indy next year. Again, we'll jump in now. Let's start talking about what we have going forward as we cap off this edition of the Debrief. The EKN Trackside Live race calendar presented today by Streeter Superstands. With decades of experience and an unbeatable reputation, Streeter Superstands leads the way in quality, innovation, and affordable lifts. Stands and an amazing selection of trailer and shop accessories to make you the envy at every event. From local club racers and regional warriors to the top pro teams, Racers demand the best, and Streeter Superstands build it. Roll with the best and shop online at StreeterSuperstands.com. David, you can chill out here. I'll just roll through. This weekend coming up, July 13th, 14th, 15th, the WK Manufacturers Cup Series will head to Concept Haulers Motor Speedway in Norway, Illinois. For the first time since the WK or any major national series has been back there in a while. David, of course, will be there with Eric Brennan to do EKN live broadcast all weekend long. Of course, David will provide his trackside live coverage. The week after that, I head to Texas, West Texas, Amarillo Kart Circuit. I cannot wait to get to this track. I'm hearing a lot of racers coming from California, some racers coming from Colorado, and of course, all the big dogs from Texas will be there. It's the Texas Pro Kart Challenge, July 20, 21, and 22. Again, Amarillo, Texas. If you got that weekend off, come out and see this racetrack. Some guy, I think an orthodontist, found karting, loved it. There wasn't a track in Amarillo, so he built his own. It's a model of the track in Istanbul, the Turkish Formula One track. I can't wait to see this place. 2 weeks later, David Cole back on track again, or on the road again. July 27th, 28th, 29th, he'll go to the US PKS race, the United States Pro Kart Series race at Newcastle Motorsports Park. Again, Newcastle is going to be the hub of some major racing here in the second half of the season. A couple weeks after that, the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour Summer Nationals, August 10th, 11th, and 12th. The finale for the SCUSA Pro Tour, again, back at Newcastle Motorsports Park. They'll find out who's going to win the number one plates that they'll be able to run, of course, at the Super Nationals in November at the Rio in Las Vegas. Again, that's the EKN Trackside Live race calendar over the next, month? David Cole and I, essentially every weekend, either he or I are trackside to bring you live play-by-play on the EKN radio network. Again, ekartingnews.com/live. That's where you can get live timing. And, of course, all the play-by-play. We'll go all the way through WK Man Cup, Texas Pro Kart Challenge, United States Pro Kart Series, and the SCUSA Pro Tour. David, let's wrap up this edition of the debrief. Give me your final thoughts on being able to roll in with the Cole Racing trailer to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, again, just being there, racing our own karts at the Brickyard is very cool. Great to get the bucket list thing done. Just the sounds of the karts rolling around the Indy GP F1 circuit, the sounds bouncing off the grandstands around turn 4, just amazing sound. Amazing. Big numbers again. It's only going to get bigger. The Briggs is going to get bigger. Yamaha's will get bigger. Shifters, tags, all of them, all the classes are going to get bigger. And you can't beat very cool trophies like they have with the brick, the milk, and of course the wreath.
Hey, right? They just did it all right. And you know what? Let's cap it off. One of the things I saw, the opening ceremonies, Andrew Burton rolling on the electric guitar, doing the electric guitar national anthem. Dude, the Star Spangled Banner. I love that. The Jimi Hendrix version, that's kick-ass.
Yep, could be there at the Super Nationals as well, too, in Vegas. So we'll keep an eye on that.
All right, man. Well, that's going to cap things off, ladies and gentlemen, for another edition of the EKN Debrief. David Cole essentially exhausting all the words he had available. Kind of ran out there at the end.
I'm done.
David, your wife is going to be thrilled. You won't say a word for the rest of the day.
Yep.
Yep, that's it. That's all you got?
I'm done.
There it is. He's not the best color man in baseball for nothing, folks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a little Major League reference for you. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been a great edition of the EKN Debrief. And again, we always thank you for listening to the EKN Radio Network. Make sure to download the app from the App Store or Google Play, I believe it is. Also, subscribe on iTunes, ladies and gentlemen. We always want you to connect with us and be able to get all the content that we're providing here on the EKN Radio Network. Again, on behalf of David Cole, I'm Rob Howden. Bye for now.